For decades, the American supply chain hummed quietly, a well-oiled machine operating behind the scenes. Goods flowed seamlessly across oceans and continents, connecting producers and consumers in a global dance. Consumers found what they needed, when they needed it, rarely giving a second thought to the journey those products took. Few questioned its intricate workings, the countless hands and minds ensuring smooth operations. This vast, complex system appeared robust, almost invincible, a testament to human ingenuity and coordination. Its quiet efficiency was taken for granted by millions, a background hum in the symphony of daily life. Then, almost overnight, the gears began to grind, and the once invisible system became glaringly visible. A tremor ran through this global network, shaking its very foundations. At first it was subtle, almost imperceptible, an item out of stock here, a slight delay there, minor inconveniences that were easy to overlook. But soon, the whispers grew louder, turning into a chorus of concern. Shelves in stores started to look noticeably emptier, the gaps growing wider with each passing day. Delivery times for online orders stretched from days to weeks, then months, testing the patience of consumers. The word crisis began to circulate, first in industry circles, then in mainstream news, capturing the public's attention. The intricate web of ships, ports, trucks, and warehouses seized up, unable to keep pace with the mounting pressures. The very arteries of American commerce became clogged, threatening to bring the entire system to a standstill. The origins of this profound crisis are complex, rooted in a myriad of economic and political factors that have evolved over time. Yet, a significant catalyst can be traced to deliberate policy shifts, particularly those initiated by major global powers. New sweeping tariffs were imposed by the United States, marking a stark departure from previous trade policies. These were not minor adjustments to trade rules but rather substantial changes that sent shockwaves through the global economy. They represented a fundamental change in American economic posture, signaling a more protectionist approach. The stated aim was to protect domestic industries, particularly those seen as vital to national security and economic stability. The goal was to rebalance trade relationships that were perceived as unfair or imbalanced. However, the immediate consequences were far-reaching and disruptive, affecting supply chains and market stability. These tariffs were significant economic volleys aimed at pressuring trading partners to renegotiate terms. They targeted major trading partners, sparking immediate retaliation and a cycle of escalating measures. What began as a targeted measure quickly escalated into a broader conflict, affecting multiple sectors and economies. A full-blown trade war erupted, primarily with China, but also involving other key global players. This was not a skirmish fought with traditional weapons, but with economic tools that had far-reaching impacts. Instead, it was waged with duties and import restrictions, creating a new kind of economic battlefield. The global trading system, built on decades of cooperation and mutual benefit, faced an unprecedented challenge that tested its resilience and adaptability. The first and most immediate casualty of this new trade environment was predictability in shipping. What was once a relatively orderly process descended into chaos. Shipping schedules became unreliable. Exporters and importers struggled to plan. The intricate dance of global logistics, where timing is everything, faltered badly. Delays mounted, creating a cascading effect throughout the entire supply chain. Securing container bookings transformed into a frantic, high-stakes scramble. Prices for shipping containers skyrocketed to unprecedented levels. Small and medium-sized businesses were often priced out entirely. Even large corporations struggled to find space on departing vessels. The competition for limited capacity was fierce. This created a desperate bidding war for essential transport. Carriers in crisis navigating uncharted waters. In this section, we delve into the tumultuous journey faced by ocean carriers, the backbone of global trade. Ocean carriers, the colossal companies that move the vast majority of global trade, were caught in the eye of the storm. These companies, responsible for transporting goods across continents, found themselves in a precarious situation. These giants of logistics, with their massive fleets and sophisticated networks, found themselves struggling. Their usual operations were thrown into disarray as they grappled with unforeseen obstacles. They faced an unprecedented combination of challenges, the likes of which had never been seen before in the industry, testing their resilience and adaptability. Surging demand, port congestion, and labor shortages stretched their capacities to the breaking point. The pressure was immense as they tried to keep up with the ever-increasing demand for goods. The established rhythms of maritime trade were completely disrupted. Traditional shipping routes and schedules were no longer reliable. In response, shipping lines began to drastically alter their schedules. They had to think on their feet, making quick decisions to adapt to the changing circumstances. Many regular sailings were canceled without much notice. This led to a ripple effect, impacting businesses and consumers worldwide. This practice, known as blank sailings, became increasingly common. It was a necessary measure to cope with the chaos. Carriers implemented these measures to try and manage congestion. They worked tirelessly to find solutions and mitigate the impact on global trade. They aimed to restore some semblance of order to their battered networks. Through strategic planning and coordination, they sought to stabilize the situation and ensure the flow of goods continued. Ground Zero, the Port of Los Angeles bottleneck. The Port of Los Angeles, the busiest container port in the United States, became the starkest symbol of the unfolding crisis. It was ground zero for the American supply chain meltdown. Day after day, news reports showed dozens of massive container ships anchored offshore. They formed a vast floating parking lot waiting for days, sometimes weeks, to unload their precious cargo. This visual became iconic of the national predicament. Onshore, the situation was equally dire. Docks were overwhelmed with containers. There was simply no space to put newly arriving boxes. Trucks faced enormous queues, sometimes waiting for hours, even days, to pick up or drop off loads. The ripple effect retail giants and Main Street's pain. The repercussions of this supply chain paralysis rippled outwards, touching every corner of U.S. commerce. Big retailers, titans like Amazon and Walmart, felt the strain acutely. Their sophisticated inventory management systems were thrown into disarray. Ensuring products were available for consumers became a daily battle. They faced rising shipping costs and unpredictable delivery timelines despite their immense purchasing power. These retail giants leveraged their considerable resources in unprecedented ways. Some took the extraordinary step of chartering their own cargo ships. They bypassed traditional carriers to gain more control over their supply lines. This was a dramatic illustration of the severity of the crisis. The new abnormal long-term shifts and trade realities. This ongoing crisis is far more than a temporary disruption. It is a profound shift. It is increasingly clear that it signals lasting changes in the global economic order. The assumptions that underpin decades of trade policy are being questioned. The era of hyper-efficient, low-cost global supply chains may be over. We are entering what many are calling the new abnormal. A period of heightened volatility and uncertainty seems inevitable. Businesses, large and small, are fundamentally rethinking their strategies. The just-in-time inventory model, once lauded for its efficiency, is now viewed with suspicion. Its vulnerability has been painfully exposed for all to see.